Hello fellow Mudbeards, Stranger Things fans, and anyone else who thinks Will honestly deserves a break. And for Halloween, it looks like we got a Stranger Things Season 5 trailer. I wanted to go ahead and break down some of my thoughts and theories for how the season's gonna go, including some death predictions. There's also a little surprise towards the end of the video if anyone sticks around, but otherwise let's just jump straight into it. So I really enjoy the song choice they chose for this trailer, but we're mainly going to be breaking down some of the plot that we see going on here. It seems Hawkins for quite a while has been under some sort of quarantine, which personally I was under the impression that everyone decided to just stick around and continue going to school there, but it makes much more sense that they just wouldn't be allowed to leave. The trailer leads us to think that at some point they just decide to fight back and maybe go on a mission into the Upside Down. But instead, considering some of the episode titles, I think they're actually on a mission to go and find Holly Wheeler. And why do I think they're taking Holly Wheeler? Well, one of the episode titles is The Disappearance of Holly Wheeler. As well as the very opening of this trailer kind of looks like a moment that takes place right after a Demogorgon sets Holly Wheeler up the same way Will was set up. And this officially kicks off Vecna's plan. Another piece of evidence suggesting that Vecna is messing with Holly is we see this small moment of her in the trailer and we see lights flickering all around them. This could be just before the moment that Vecna takes Holly, or has a Demogorgon take her. But what about the hero's plan in the story? Well, it seems they're splitting up into groups yet again, some to go into the Upside Down and some to stay on the surface and help navigate in some way, as well as initiate whatever the climax of their plan actually is. Surely some sci-fi mumbo-jumbo involving the radio tower and cutting off Vecna's frequency in some way. We see at some point, while Eleven is in the Upside Down, she seems to be following this tether of lightning. This tether could be guided by the car we see in the trailer, or even just leading her to the radio station. But it makes you wonder, where would Holly's mom be? Would she really leave it up to her own kids while she stays back and relaxes? Either this weird glimpse we see of her potentially being in labor or pregnant, and she could just be physically unable to move forward with the mission. Or she's not actually pregnant, and it turns out what Nancy saw in her vision that Vecna gave her is true, and most of her family ends up dying.
He showed me things that haven't happened yet. He showed me my mom, Holly, Mike, and they were all...
Speaking of Nancy, it seems her, Jonathan, and Dustin, potentially even Steve, are a big part of the Upside Down portion of the mission. And things honestly don't look too well for Jonathan. Narratively speaking, he's more likely to go down than even Steve at this point. Simply because if his character is to die, it has to be for a reason other than shock value, to help tie his narrative importance in keeping him around so long. But I'll get more into that when I make my predictions for Steve. Jonathan has also long served past his narrative importance. While the performance is still great, it seems his character is more of an accessory piece to both Nancy and Will's characters. Although there are a lot of sentimental hugging scenes with him, which could suggest that he could survive some tragedies, I just think he's high on my death prediction list. I'm thinking that we're going to get two big events within these 4 episodes that they release. One will be a smaller outbreak that takes place at the hospital, as we see several shots of Lucas carrying Max around while they're being hunted. It's interesting that he decides to carry around music as well. Either potentially he kept doing this since she entered a coma in the hopes that she'd come back, or maybe part of their plan is to start playing music so she could potentially come back. Either way, I'll get back to her character in just a bit. I believe the same outbreak could also lead to the potential disappearance of Holly. The reason I believe these scenes are separate from some of the later scenes of the chaos we get are purely due to the wardrobe differences. But let's go ahead and get back to Steve's character. Steve has been a character who's been close to the top on most people's death predictions list every season that comes out. Meaning there's 2 potential reasons he's still being kept around. Either he's a fan favorite and they just didn't want to kill him off and don't know what to do with him. Maybe waiting to kill him off at some point to add some shock value or stakes to the actual situation. Or they do actually have a narrative plan for him, they just needed to develop something else first. As in, Nancy and Jonathan needed to get their relationship going and reach its ultimate tragic conclusion, so that eventually, down the line, Steve and Nancy could get together. Meaning if Steve does survive, his narrative arc could be about staying strong and enduring, and slowly learning to crawl forwards. I also believe he'll be a huge support to Dustin. Their relationship is always strong, but Dustin will likely still be grieving the death of Eddie. Potentially even telling Dustin of his support he got from Eddie in regards to his relationship with Nancy back in season 4. This could lead Dustin to also supporting Steve in the same way. But where could Dustin's story end? Well, I think that him and Steve's relationship plays an important factor. I think Dustin will start the series at a low point, still representing the Hellfire Club and getting bullied for it, but trying to clear Eddie's name. I believe that while providing support to Steve, like I said, they could reach a dangerous situation where, wanting to prevent a same repeat of what happened with Eddie, Dustin ends up sacrificing himself so Steve doesn't die in a similar way. Cause let's face it, Steve also seems like the guy who takes a Eddie Munson move and goes off to distract the enemy while everyone else escapes to buy more time. Dustin could spot the red flags and stop Steve from sacrificing himself, somehow clearing not only Eddie's name but also securing a happy future for Steve, which would be a much more interesting twist than Steve staying behind to buy more time and dying in the cliche mentor way. But let's go ahead and move on to Hopper. Honestly, Hopper's a 50-50 for me. They could go the more cliche route and have him sacrifice himself for everyone else, or even just 11, but I could also see them keeping him alive and potentially surviving all his hard work and efforts. Either way, it looks like he'll definitely be part of the Upside Down team and hanging out with 11 quite a bit, which these two deserve another team up. A character that was surprisingly lacking from this entire ordeal was the character of Max. Likely to be in a coma for the first few episodes of Season 5 altogether, I predict the reasoning here will be specifically so we can follow her story and what she's been up to, or why it's so important she is where she's at. And where is she at? I think, like most people, that she is inside Vecna's mind, along with all the other victims he killed, as he claims,
"They're not gone, 11. They're still with me, in here."
I believe after a first few chaotic episodes and getting back into the groove of things, we'll begin to tackle a side plot where we follow Max and her learning more about Vecna's past. And I believe that what she finds in there will likely clue us in to how to stop Vecna. And Will plays a key role in that, but I'll get into that in just a second. Let's go ahead and talk about the second outbreak in Hawkins that will likely kill off maybe one or two characters. During some of the trailer shots, at the radio station, we can see there's more gates opening all around. From these gates are likely going to be a couple of Demogorgons, who even just one is a lot for any military personnel to handle. But I also don't think this will be the final invasion of Hawkins, simply because in Nancy's vision she saw all sorts of creatures walking through their neighborhoods. No, I believe this entire chaotic ordeal will actually be Vecna making his way to capture Will, potentially using some of the newer cast of kids we're seeing glimpses of, and cursing them to grow in power. Once he's strong enough, he leads the invasion to Hawkins and begins mowing through everyone he can, while 11 and everyone else are probably still in the Upside Down. Which means things also don't look good for Mike, who is right there amidst all the chaos, and is one of the few core 4 characters outside of Dustin that we could see narratively going. But someone else within this sequence that's even more likely would be Joyce. We know Joyce is a mama bear and she'll do absolutely anything to protect her son. Their journey this season could be resemblant and an homage to their relationship in the first season, a very powerful one that used to be the heart of the story. And watching her protect him through all this chaos and maybe standing up to Vecna directly would really be an awesome way to see her go out. And her powerful relationship with Will is going to be key to stopping Vecna. But first, let's break down why Vecna wants Will in the first place. If we notice, Vecna's looking a lot different than he used to in Season 4. Likely after all the damage of being shot several times and set ablaze, there wasn't too much left of him. But using his mental powers, as he did when he first came in contact with the hive mind, he begins utilizing these dark tentacle things to help shape up his body into something more. Side note, whatever these tentacle things are definitely associated with both the hive mind and the Demogorgons, but it still leaves you to wonder, was the Upside Down where these things were born? If so, why does their combination with Vecna make the skies blue rather than yellow? And how in the world did we get a recreation of Hawkins mirrored in the Upside Down? Either way, getting back to my point, Vecna will likely go to Will and potentially possess him, using his previously established connection with Will, having been possessed by the hive mind before, and their connection persisting even afterwards, to potentially take complete control and become the next antagonist for the rest of the season. It would even be cool if we saw Will develop some sort of claw-like hand similar to Vecna's. This would continue the sort of D&D motif the series keeps up. And while seeing a battle go down between 11 and Will with a Vecna hand would be cool, it makes you wonder where Will be at. Well, I believe Will could end up going to the same place Max is. along with the rest of Vecna's victims, including Vecna's first victims in his mother. Remember how I was referring to the very powerful relationship between both Will and Joyce? Well, we haven't really seen much of the relationship between both Vecna and his own mom, though it was kind of the instigator for Vecna's spiral into darkness. And while Vecna told us about her betrayal, there's also room to believe that she really was just a nurturing mom who potentially saw her son tearing apart animals with his mind, and really didn't know what else to do besides, potentially report him to people who could help. I just think it's very weird that we didn't really get many scenes with her outside of her death scene. I believe here both Will and Max could learn more about Vecna's past, and potentially Vecna and his relationship to his mother, or even his sister, who we also know might be in there, could be the key in either converting Vecna, making him a good guy and potentially stopping some of the monsters roaming around, or could leave him shocked for enough time that they could take him down. But there's also another theory that Vecna's after Will because he broke the timeline and got a haircut. Either way, I know there were a lot of death predictions, but it is the final season. And despite the creators claiming that it's not Game of Thrones and they don't need to kill off a bunch of characters, as it's not that kind of story, after season 4, I personally beg to differ. To have them kill off so many red shirts and then leave our own characters powering all the way through really would make them all come off as superheroes if there's not some consequences coming this season. A great example of why a show needs consequences would also be Welcome to Derry, which is airing right now. And I won't get too deep into it, but it seems it's not afraid to kill off its characters. Either way, the only reason I bring up Welcome to Derry and it is because of the obvious parallels and similarities between each other, which I will be making a video on, as well as the fact as I needed an excuse to add this to the video.
You see, humans
All of the tunnels are underground,
are a unique type of pest, multiplying,
where none of the children will ever be found.
poisoning our world, all while enforcing a structure of their own. A deeply unnatural structure.
They wandered away to join the
Everyone
show
is just
and lost
waiting,
their way in the world
waiting
below.
for it all to be over. A cruel, oppressive world dictated by made-up rules.
They joined the circus and left their town.
Don't be afraid.
Down with
Life, a faded, lesser copy of the one before. Wake up, eat, work, sleep, reproduce, and die.
There is nothing you can't do to stop this now. Hawkins will burn and fall, and the rest of this senseless, broken world will